Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast, an ongoing series of conversations and considerations to help people understand and embrace their own unique creativity for fulfilling lives and brilliant careers. My name is Ben Talon. I'm an illustrator and author, and I bring 16 years of creative industry experience working with the New York Times, The Guardian, the Premier League, and more. And I invite designers, artists, psychologists, scientists, coaches, athletes, sensitivity experts, and all kinds of thought leaders to help us broaden our knowledge of creativity. Creativity is a fundamental pillar of human happiness, a vital ingredient in the solutions to our problems, but so often misunderstood. The show is supported by founding sponsor and B Corp, Illustration X. Take a look at their stunning range of illustrators and animators at illustrationx.com. If you like the music for the show, it's by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on Spotify and all good music streaming services. Today, as I ramp up for some new guest episodes for 2024, it's another instalment of the Creativity Diary as I pick through a number of issues. I think about energy diversity. I go through a personal meltdown, an anxiety raft like I've never felt before. And coming out the side of it, I feel a whole new clarity, and here's why. This is the Creative Condition Diary. How are you doing, guys? Welcome back to the show. My name is Ben Talon. I shouldn't be here, should I? I shouldn't be here. I said I was going bi-weekly. I didn't lie. I didn't even change my mind. I just didn't know. Last week my head was up my arse, I'm not going to lie. I went through a real, I don't want to say anxiety attack because I don't know if that's quite right. I don't know the terminology for all this stuff. I've managed to go through my life as something of a worrier. I'm a very sensitive guy. But I haven't had too much in the way of bad mental health problems. Last week, however, felt quite extreme for me. I'll give you some context. So I came back in from the new year. I had a plan. I sat down over Christmas, felt really good. The family were on great form. We had a wonderful Christmas. I had some headspace. And I came back into January, and you might have read this on the diary, but I got a big increase on the pet insurance. And that might seem like a trivial thing. And it is. It's annoying. It's expensive. But it's not going to break the bank. But I had this response to it. It sent me into a complete stress response, financial panic. I went off the edge of a mini cliff last week because I came back into the studio after Christmas and I hadn't got my house in order. And when I say that, okay, I came back with a plan, something of a plan moving forward, but there's no structure, no calendar, no week-to-week rota, so I didn't know on any given day what I was doing. So I sat down on Monday. And for anybody who's followed this show for a while, you'll know fine well that I'm something of a polymath. It's just the way my brain works. I need the variation. I need the next exciting creative challenge. It's how I access my optimal creativity when I feel most energized. The problem with that is I've never left truly enough time to manage myself. So if I came into a design agency or any company for that matter, I would have a rota. I would need to know and sign off with a superior what I'm doing in my day-to-day, right? Lunch times would be somewhat scheduled. What are you doing this morning? What are you doing this afternoon? Now, within that slot, it's cool to be adaptable. You can pivot. Something comes in urgent, you can switch whatever task you're meant to be doing to another slot. But I didn't even have a slot. I didn't have a week-to-week. I arrive in the studio each week. I am founder of the Creative Condition and Creativity Coach. I am Ben Talon, author, writer. I am Ben Talon, illustrator, artist, live artist. I have 7 books. I have 300 plus podcasts. So it's easy to see why that can be overwhelming, and overwhelm me it did. So I came in and I felt horrendous. I was having something close to a panic attack. I was having to lie down. I was feeling that stressed out. And the initial threat that triggered the fight or flight instinct was the pet plan insurance. This morphed into a broader financial panic. This financial panic quickly got mutated out of all proportion because I was in fight, flight, freeze, our defensive evolutionary mechanism that safeguards us against immediate threats. This is what news cycles trigger. This is what too much time on the internet and social media is designed to hijack, to keep you there. It's all pretty dark and sinister. It's all out there. Look at the Facebook files. They're very much target your attention. That's the attention economy. That's why they call it that. In my case, this disproportionate reaction sent me over a mini cliff edge. So I couldn't focus. I couldn't work. I was all over the show. And I had to get my act together. So as the week went on, I managed to find enough control within my mind to implement better thought patterns, to wrench myself out of this pit that I'd fallen into. And thankfully, coming out of it on Friday, I felt a lot better. Now, over the weekend, I've made a rota, I've made a proper plan, I've acknowledged everything that I'm doing, I've worked out what has to go to enable me to be a brilliant illustrator for my clients, to be founder of the Creative Condition, and to give my coaching clients the best version of me that I can, to make them the best version of themselves. I know that sounds like a massive cliche because that's thrown around so much these days. But that's what this coaching is. It's personal development. It's optimal creativity. I'm helping people get back to their baseline of brilliance so they can move forward with the same zest and the same love of creativity that drew them to art college, to the industry, to whatever their starting point was in the first place. So there you have it. I'm kind of coming back in, and in the midst of all that, I told you guys I was going bi-weekly. I thought that I should, because maybe I thought that was something I could cut. Maybe I will down the line. But right now, having got my shit together, I think I can still deliver on weekly episodes. It's going to be diary excerpts, it's going to be guest episodes, probably 3 to the former and 1 guest episode, maybe 1 a month, maybe 2 a month. I'll work it out. I've got some crackers lined up, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Still very excited about this podcast. And now, with a little bit of order, I see where it fits into my bigger picture. I see how it fits into the Creative Conditions ecosystem. I see how the Creative Condition fits into Ben Talon's business ecosystem. And I see how Ben Talon's business ecosystem fits into my life, so I can retain happiness, fulfillment, I can pay my bills, and I can not go off these cliff edges. So there you have it. That's where I'm at. Where are you at? Let me know, please. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of this show, illustrationx.com, my wonderful agency, support us since the very beginning of this podcast. We're now 10 years into the game. Thank you so much. If you're a regular, hello and welcome. If you're a newbie, I'd love to have you on board. What I'm doing here is helping people to access their optimal creativity. I am exploring creativity far and wide. I'm talking to artists and designers and creative industry people, but I'm also talking to firefighters, I'm talking to athletes, I'm talking to Olympic gold medal winning coaches, I'm talking to ex-prisoners. I want to explore human fundamental creativity in its absolute breadth so that I can bring my findings back and be an awesome coach, or at least somebody who can help you guys to understand their creativity for fulfilling lives and work and careers. So head over to thecreativecondition.com, check it all out. That's the ecosystem I've created. That is where I am at. I would love to work with you as a coach. If you've got a little bit of budget and you want to move forward, I am running the Pit Stop. That is currently a third off until the end of March. The Pit Stop is basically a one-to-one intensive audit of the foundations of your creativity. It takes between 2.5 and 4 hours of both of our time. We sit down together. I'm doing some of them in person. I got my first booking later this month for 2025. I'm incredibly excited about that. We're going to spend half a day together, me and said client. We're going to work through all of their ecosystem of creativity, everything from sense of humour to personality to life experience to skills to desires to hopes to fears to dreams. We're going to look at the adversity you've suffered, how that can be used, how you can manage the bad shit. This falls between therapy and creative coaching. I love helping people. I love creativity. At the end of that, I go away, I listen back to our conversation, and I write up as many pages as required, notes of recommendation, and I send you on your way with the Anatomy of Creativity framework. You get an A3 print. It's got my framework where you can see all the things that make up creativity. On the back of the sheet, you can see it on the website, head to thecreativecondition.com, is a definition for every single thing that's on there, from biophilia to dark energy to sense of humour to shadow self. It's all going on. And by the end of it, I will help you get realigned, find your strengths, see the way forward, and get some tangible steps in place for you to move forward and rediscover your passion if you've lost your way, recognise where you need to go if you're getting started, or even if you're an industry veteran, you're a leader in your field, but you just haven't had time to breathe in the last 20, 30 years, and you're trapped by your previous body of work. I can help you. I can help you out of that. I can help you find the new way, because let's face it, how many of us can actually see our own big picture? Because it's 1,000 miles an hour the way we live our lives today. So that's what I'm here to do. If you want to work with me, head to thecreativecondition.com, fill out the form. We'll jump on a Zoom call for 10 minutes. We'll see if we're a good fit. We'll talk about what we might do. If that sounds good, we'll get it booked in. It's a third off between now and the start of April for the pit stop. I also do this as a lecture and workshop for businesses. I work with people's staff doing the pit stop for your employees, be you design agency, ad agency, creative agency, you might be a healthcare organisation, you might be firefighters. I work with people to find their optimal creativity no matter who they are. That's my passion. I'm loving it. Exciting stuff coming up. Give me a shout if you want to get in touch. I'll answer any of your questions. We'll have a little call. No obligation. Let's get it going. For those of you with no budget, that's why I'm here. The podcast is free. The reading list is free. You can find books to help your own creativity, including my books. You can buy them in the shop. But more importantly, there's about 40 books in the reading list. Books I have personally curated that will help you in certain aspects of your creativity. There's the diary. That's what I'm reading today. I usually do it every other day or so, sometimes daily. You can keep up. You can check in with my thoughts each day with your morning coffee. I love this stuff. Let's work together. But without further ado, we've got the diary coming up. First guest of the year coming up next week, Caroline Christie, a wonderful content writer. We're going to be talking about a massive topic, which is, I can't even explain it. It's massive. So Caroline got fascinated with this angle of AT&T, who used to be the biggest telecommunications provider in the United States, funding programs where artists were put together with people of industry and given freedom, funded and given freedom to pioneer new ideas, to have fun, to have joy, to make great work together, to see what would happen, to facilitate big ideas, technological breakthroughs. It's absolutely inspiring. We're going to be discussing that on next week's show. First guest of 2024. Soon I'm going to be talking to Rugeshri Dariowan, who is a HIV doctor and sexual health doctor. She's written a brilliant book called Unheard, silencing the medical practice of silencing. You can see that I'm going to add that to the reading list soon. It's wonderful. We're going to be talking about truly listening to people's lives and problems to understand and optimize your creativity. How's that for an angle? That's what we do here. Please do go out and help the ui.org.ua. That's the Ukrainian Institute. They basically support the Ukrainian creative community in this horrific time of war. You can do so too by sharing a piece of artwork, commissioning an artist. There are many ways you can support the embattled Ukrainian creative community. Please consider doing that for me now. If you get a chance, tell a friend about the show. Subscriptions, reviews, ratings, that's all helpful too. But most importantly, word of mouth. I want to grow the Creative Condition. I am its founder. I am this podcast host. Please do help me out in doing so. So that's it. Let's get into it with this week's Creativity Diary. 23rd of December 2024. Energy diversity. The school invites us parents in for an afternoon nosy around our kids' classroom on the last day of term before Christmas holidays. My two are in reception. That's ages 4 to 5. Fortunately, thanks to my freelance situation, I don't have to seek any permission to get away from work, and I'm particularly excited to see just how fired up all the kids are ahead of their first dose of last day sillies ahead of the Christmas holiday. It doesn't disappoint. There's a crackle around the place I've missed. This was often present in workplaces, both in my days of employment, deceased 2008, and in shared workspaces since I went into business for myself. Of course, it's more inhibited in the adult world. Kids scream louder, run faster, and jump around more. Some have to be ordered to calm down. Later on, I message a parent friend who messaged my wife to apologise for an outburst from her little one. It was nothing. A little wallop to each of my twins, something to do with a bag of Haribo. A mere overspill of chaos energy. I tell her not to apologise again, that I adore this environment of learning to be human. One year I took leave of my senses and puked all over the living room floor, all because I simply couldn't handle the overwhelm of Christmas. I also recall being thrown down a full-size staircase in nursery by an overzealous friend. The prefrontal cortex, the bit of the brain used to manage impulses, isn't fully formed until humans are 21. So is there any wonder 4-year-olds occasionally manhandle one another and make wild choices? This child reminds me of myself at the same age. Lots of physical energy, strong for her age and excitable. I tell her mum that I love all of it, that the range of characters in my kids' friendship group has already accelerated their development, and physical resilience had previously been a concern for me. It's challenging enough for parents to manage these little balls of energy without having to worry about the playground parent social dynamics. This gets me thinking about something I decide I'll term energy diversity. How incredibly valuable this can be in the creative process. Of course, this slips easily into the necessity of broader diversity, but in particular, in an environment providing psychological safety, a well-balanced team of minds with varying types of energy will thrive. It might already be a consideration in businesses, but in a world where extreme human characteristics are rapidly demonised or shied away from, I can't help but think that the most powerful energy combinations are not made. I think school works as a model. The kids I learned the most from in secondary school were the antagonistic ones. They had no idea about this form of teaching, a missed opportunity I lament. In a recent discussion with drama and English teacher Abby Lucas, she highlighted the fact that the kids kicked out of the other subjects are the first at the drama class door because their chaotic ways, often brought about by early life domestic issues, are powerful when converted into a subject that values the resulting dirty energy. English, with a broader emphasis on all forms of intelligence, kinesthetic, interpersonal, and so on, could follow suit. For Abby, the curriculum is tighter here, and she has less room to act sympathetically to individuality. My energy was placid. I had a sense of humour that appealed to the class clowns, but didn't alienate the quieter kids. I liked people, and enjoyed being a part of it all. An in-betweener of sorts. This meant that away from jostling front-facing scenes, the class clowns showed me a quieter side, and they were always far smarter than academia gave them the chance to show. I was empathetic, and my parents always encouraged me to look beyond the facade of surface behaviour to see what was really going on with a person and access them there. At 14 years old, I had no way to consciously know or change this, so eventually we were filtered into groups according to academic performance and potential, and the cross-pollination I seek in my life and career now was snuffed out. This has been the way for centuries. We have a way of perpetuating in the world of work, particularly when employers fear characters who might cause uproar by saying the wrong thing, or making people uneasy with a fast-paced brain perceived as threatening intensity. In the Creative Condition talk, I explore the idea of like-minded people, how we must shirk this as a singularity and fertilise our social networks with energy diversity for the benefit of optimal creativity and ideas generation. And I want it for my kids. To have it, there'll be a few tears, fallouts, and the need to avoid limiting myself to the safe, like-minded parent clusters at drop-off and collection time. 27th of December 2024, Boxing Day 1997. I heard it said recently that you should look to frustrate your child at least once daily. The idea, of course, is that they gain early life resilience to life's trivialities, having to wait their turn, lose board games, endure a card journey without a tablet, and so on. I love that, and it's something I've been doing since my two were born. I mean, with a twin, it's pretty much inevitable that they'll have to deal with roadblocks, but there are certainly times when I've felt the pull on my heartstrings and almost tried to smooth the way ahead, but recognised that a bigger life lesson could be taught if I step off. While idling on Christmas Day this year, I allowed myself to reminisce about Christmases gone by. Of all the gifts I was fortunate enough to receive in my younger years, a Sony PlayStation, various WWE action figures, football kits, one that glows in my memory is the humble 1996-97 Leeds United yearbook. It was a basic publication, official club photos, player profiles with information I knew most of already, and a couple of interviews and foreword. Still, I've never been more obsessed with my chosen club of allegiance than then, in a pre-internet hunt for anything to fuel the fire in my belly for football. So I carried it around for the next week, even outdoors, taking it on journeys. I looked at every photograph countless times and allowed my imagination to run wild. Every minute detail, from the yellow and blue band on the shirt's arm to the glow of the floodlight during evening fixtures, it all mattered. Why am I telling you this? I lived a reasonably comfortable young life. My family was far from well off, a thoroughly working class family, but we had plenty of love, support and community. I never went hungry and my interests were encouraged, so I needed to get my frustration from somewhere. Football delivered. A win or loss would leave me utterly elated or under a moody cloud, respectively. Either could last for 3 to 4 days. I made scrapbooks from the newspapers I spent part of my £9 paper round allowance income on, lovingly pasting down tedious 0-0 draws and 1-0 defeats in my scrapbook, alongside the odd but all the more savoured win. Other than Match of the Day or the local news, I had to hunt down the physical print reports and, given my low budget, choose judiciously according to photograph quality and number of column inches afforded, heightening the pleasure of securing the goods. Then, the sheer limitations meant I had to get maximum joy from the one report, seeing it from every angle, discussing it with anyone who'd listen, which meant new points of view. That this awful season, timed at the height of my 14-year-old adoration of the football club, means the season glows in my nostalgic daydreams, but it made me work for every Leeds United goal, of which there were just 28. That Leeds United team is widely acknowledged as the most boring team in Premier League history. 9 0-0 draws in 38 league matches, but for me, might just have been the most beautiful. I'm grateful for my ability to take a lot of pleasure from a little, the simple pleasures. Routine frustration, even of the most trivial kind, has a way of instilling this. It's common in people who grew up without luxury of the material kind, and it's been a bedrock in my creativity, helping me build a sustainable career with just my pencil case of pens, pencils, brushes, and a couple of inks and paints, along with a scanner and laptop, without ever feeling the victim. Driving it with ideas and a romanticism that characterised my football fandom in the late 1990s. It has a lot to do with anticipation, the chase and the sense of possibility when chasing work or nurturing queries often amounts to an infuriating failure to deliver a commission. And yet, I get back on the horse time and time again, refusing to quit and apply for full-time employment, even in the most soul-destroying dry spells. Could it be that Leeds United fandom has been an unlikely frustration coach, supporting my tolerance, patience, and ability to keep on? The joy of the chase was enough. Even in the moments of defeat, I might have argued it. I spent a tragic portion of Christmas Day 1997 imagining Boxing Day's win at home to Coventry City. I had it all sketched out. 1-0 would do, but 2-0, or even 3-0, wasn't unrealistic. In these days, I'd wake early on a match day and fail to get back to sleep from buzzing anticipation. And, given I'd only just begun to go to games without my dad, most of these involved mere local radio coverage. Dreary school lessons were tolerable because I could sketch team sheets in my exercise book. 98% of my identity was pinned to the club. In high spirits that Boxing Day, I clock-watched while sitting with the family before creeping off to my room with my dad's transistor radio, through which Radio Leeds brought me the delight of an opening Leeds goal in the 9th minute. Then, as has become the calling card of Leeds United over many decades, they capitulated and lost 3-1. I almost cried. A simmering internal rage weighed me down and left my Christmas break in ruins. But all of that build-up, that fantasising, nourished my imagination and my ability to generate a state close to bliss just by thinking about the right thoughts. You can laugh, but this kind of sitcom misery has, save for a handful of seasons in the early and late 1990s, been a constant frustration sensei. I would have shed it at a moment's notice given the opportunity to swap with the fortunes of then all-conquering Manchester United. But I'm delighted it was so. In the same way, all that romanticising was not lost in the wreckage, despite a torrid year of commissions scrapped at the 11th hour, often by the way of ghosting. I approached 2025 with a bag full of learned lessons from not getting access to the easy road, feeling stronger and more supple than ever before. By wringing every bit of joy and exhilarating anticipation from the chase and sitting with the fallout of the frustrations, I add colour to my overall creative life experience. As it goes, on Boxing Day 2024, Leeds United cantered to a one-sided 2-0 win away at Stoke City. It came easily through my streaming service. When I finished, I smiled, checked the updated league table on my smartphone without having to work for it, messaged a friend, and went to bed feeling only a small ripple of pleasure. 29th of December 2024, Baby Gorilla. Every night, right before the kids go to bed, I step into my role as Baby Gorilla, a character the kids handed me. It's a simple creation, involving a fantasy banana heist, differing each night. Literally, nothing changes. I'm still shambolically tired and their father putting them to bed, but when we hit the landing, 2 pairs of excited wide eyes are on me. Baby Gorilla! Baby Gorilla! What's your secret? There's so much to manage between 5 p.m. and their bedtime at 7:30 p.m. each night that I fail to think ahead. This means that inside 10 or so seconds, I must beat my chest, curl my lips, and generate 2 imaginative methods of smuggling the yellow fruit into my bed without the knowledge of my fictitious gorilla parents. There have been many benefits to my creativity since the advent of parenthood, but this divergent thinking workout is among the best. It's a common comparison, but the athlete's muscle metaphor isn't misplaced when considering creativity, an ability that must be conditioned and maintained to get the most out of it. And in that vein, coming up with new methods of getting these prized bananas to my bed isn't easy. Sometimes they're ludicrous, such as tonight's poor, "I've hidden 20 of them behind the wallpaper" effort. Other times they're topical, circular slices of banana behind advent calendar doors. Then, on occasion, the tactics uphold under scrutiny, helping my storyline gorilla parents do the laundry and tucking multiple bananas into sleeves and trouser legs. Initially, I did this to indulge my children's humour and develop their imaginations, but I found myself in a positive creative headspace each evening once they were asleep, as if the mental squats were paying off over a long period of time. During a pre-Christmas pile-up of projects, I noticed how easily I was able to access conceptual thinking and enter flow, and while this not owing only to baby gorilla, it is playing a part. I used to worry how much time I'd have left for such personal development once the twins arrived, but being 37 when they arrived, I'd viewed my creativity as part of my broader life for a good while, so I knew not to overlook the new opportunities children in my life would bring in place of the studio time I'd have to surrender. It is now something I'll weave into my workshops with businesses. How long baby gorilla will remain a part of our daily routines remains to be seen, but he's just one such character in an ever-evolving carousel of silly inventions, and I keenly await the conception of the next. 1st of January 2025. Prestige and ball pools. I had to check myself, my grown-up thoughts and the bent perspective on a sense. A New Year's Day trip to jumping fun, a giant warehouse full of bouncy castle surfaces, obstacle courses, a ball pit, and a massive inflatable slide. You get 1 hour for your booking, and after 35 minutes up and down the massive slide, the kids and their mate retire to the ball pit, which you can play in after your allotted hour is up anyway. I thought about this, and I almost spoke up to say, "What are you doing, dwelling in this free bit when you could be over there on that mountain, which they'll kick you off soon?" But I didn't. As I opened my mouth, the words were snatched away by a smile. The 3 of them were shrieking, cackling, vanishing under the balls, and firing back above the surface like giddy fish. Who was I to pressure them over what I assumed was better? Strange comparison, but I know many people in the creative industry who barrelled after the promotion, only to, despite success in the new role, miss the joy of collaboration, play, ideas, and the freedom to act on them artistically. In that ball pit, a storyline and a game, the rules of which were unbeknownst to us parents, unfolded, and they were one silly, mucky-socked organism, bonding, finding out, releasing something pure and important in a way us adults rarely do. I felt good, having paused for a split second to see what was in front of me, the necessity of it, no matter whether it came with the price tag of the big draw, or over yonder, or not. On the drive home, I thought about it a lot more, so I can stay vigilant when I put titles, accolades, and the wrong kind of success ahead of my joy of discovery. 3rd of January 2025. Back to school. I was at a design festival in one of my dreams. I was panicking about whether legging off for a pan of chocolat and a coffee would cost me my front row spot. I threw my coat and bag on the seat and went for it. As I wove my way through the crowd after the first talk, 2 men were screaming at each other about how skint they both were, a game of one-upmanship. One got truly horrible and silenced the other. It feels unnecessary to detail what he said here. It was brutal. But this dream chased one in which bombs were involved. Today is the last day of my Christmas holiday break, and doesn't my unconscious mind know it? Today I'm cleaning the studio. Well, after this procrastination piece, and I'm trying to answer a few big questions in my head. Strategy. I've written 2 big business plans in my time. One to get a grant, the other while running Quenched Music in Manchester after we accepted some help from a business student who loved music and needed some experience. I looked at neither after they were completed. This isn't arrogance, but an illustration of the brain I have. I often wonder whether there's some neurodivergence at play, but it doesn't feel significant enough to chase a diagnosis. I've never missed paying my tax, never missed a deadline, and been a full-time illustrator with add-ons, writing, original art, podcasting, art direction, for 17 years. The trouble is, I'm so bloody minded about creativity that I chase the next exciting thing that moves into my mind like a dog on a frosty morning after the first thrown ball. This hasn't led me wildly astray. I'm very comfortable with the unknown and like to see how things unfold when I heed my instincts. But now, at 41, I've arrived at a junction from which, with a little strategy, I could really help myself. Since I stumbled into interviewing people in 2010 when I asked if I could write up a great conversation with Don Letts for the Quenched Music blog, I've not stopped on what became a fascination with human creativity. Not art, but the broader having ideas that have value. I'll never stop, but as a pleasantly long Christmas break and years of self-initiated works of passion, I've found myself in a place where I have both an established brand and website for my work as a illustrator and artist, creativity coach and founder of The Creative Condition, author and writer. I did not know this is where I was going, but here I am, in love with what I do, the author of my own life. Back on episode 211 of the podcast, Washington DC based artist Chris Pirate said to me, "I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting there." Well, I'm here. And even with a monkey brain like mine, I can no longer hide from the fact that if I want to convert years of dog play into something that can financially sustain and illuminate this human, now I must make a plan and remember it exists after I've finished. Don't get me wrong, I adore my mind and I'm totally at peace with the way I am, but that peace brings a certain clarity and ability to get out of my own way when I need to. That need is pressing. 6th of January 2025. How many of us? I had to call some friends yesterday, friends who have felt the grip of anxiety. The work I have done has required maximum inner strength because I allowed myself to spiral into a total financial panic. I find that once you enter full-blown anxiety like this, the vicious cycle starts. Everything is a threat, a monumental, unresolvable issue. Then, when fatigued and burned out from the total overwhelm, the anxiety comes back in waves, usually without a logical, identifiable cause that can be addressed and eradicated. 2 days in the paralysis of it, and finally, this morning, a breakthrough. The friends I called offered various bits of great advice, one of which involved spending time before you go to sleep thinking about the things that excite you about the next day. I did that, forcing my racing brain to shine its spotlight on the things that will bring me joy. Even if the financial worry continued to lurk in the background, and it did, I could set my brain on a more nourishing pattern of thought. It wasn't easy, but upon waking, despite the presence of adrenaline in my system, I sat up and pushed my mind into the same things I'd fallen asleep thinking about. It didn't bring glee, but it was enough to balance the fears and help me get up, get the kids ready for school, and get out with the dog. From there, I walked around the local arts centre gardens and listened to the cathartic chapter of my new Murakami book, The City and Its Uncertain Walls. This morning, I began to wonder just how many people like me, independent and specialist in their trade, leading with creativity, have to deal with this kind of mental health challenge because of the current climate of turmoil. Anxiety completely asphyxiates creativity because it reduces you down to either the bare functioning essentials or, at best, it might be possible to get into what a friend described to me as the dead zone. The idea that a soldier is far more effective with their back to the wall. For a while I did, and I'm sure others do, but if you're highly sensitive, which I very much am, it can be catastrophic for progression or a resolution. It's a perfect storm out there. AI, tightening budgets and shrinking economies. On a good day, I know that I was always an outlier and must fight hard to find the opportunities, but on a bad day, I have to fight not to admonish myself for being a specialist. But who isn't? My electrician or builder friends can't suddenly just pivot and go find a job that will pay them as well, despite a lack of experience and relevant expertise. The trouble is, as one friend pointed out, plumbers will always have work because we are some way off AI toilets. But after 17 and 19 years in the illustration and creative industries respectively, now is not the time to be wondering whether we should have trained as plumbers after all. It was always about evolving and sidestepping, not melting down. I'm feeling a little better this morning, and I have amends to make on a job from last year. If you felt this too, I'd love to hear from you. So there you have it, guys. A week in the mind of this madman. What do you think of the diary? I'd love to hear from you if you're a regular listener of the show. Are you into it? Would you rather more guest episodes? Would you rather more diary episodes? Or are you happy with this balance? Like I say, Caroline Christie, a brilliant content writer, coming up with a fascinating topic next week about how corporate businesses could really help breakthroughs in our world by funding creativity and cross-pollination between industries. It's a really, really great idea, and it's something that's been around and been done brilliantly by Bell Labs, a project that went on mid last century. It's really, really interesting. It's a mazy one, it's a long one, but I'm bringing that to you next week. Thank you for listening, guys. Please do tell a friend about the show. If you need some help with your creativity, head to thecreativecondition.com now. There's plenty of free resources. But if you want to invest in your future, I'd love to work with you. I'm working one-to-one with clients, and it's really exciting because one thing that's been lacking from my creativity recently, as I've been working out of my garden studio, is more people interaction. I'm very social, and I've missed working in shared studios. So the coaching is a wonderful way for me to be face-to-face with people, helping them with their creativity. So go and check out the coaching section at thecreativecondition.com, and you can read about the Pit Stop, which is my one-to-one intensive session. It's a one-off fee. It's currently £400. That's a third cheaper than the £600 it's going to be from April onwards. It's well worth it. It really does get you set on your way, realign you with your pure creativity and personality. We do so much personal development work in that session. We look at everything from what you're doing to where you want to go and everything that makes up your creativity. It's over 12 years of personal learning and study and finding my feet and becoming an expert in creativity and what makes human creativity. Love to do it with you. Give me a shout if you're interested. There's a form to fill out on the coaching section of the website. From there, we'll have a quick Zoom call for 10 minutes. We'll have a natter, we'll have a cup of tea. We'll talk about what's up and see if I can help you. And if you fancy it, if it's a good fit, we'll get it booked in. Maybe we'll do it in person. I live in Salisbury, so anywhere kind of southwest London, I'm happy to come and do it in person. I get a real kick out of spending a day with folk and helping them with their creativity. I'm doing it for businesses. I'm doing talks and workshops. I'll come in and do the pit stop for your employees. I love doing that also. So there you have it. That's me. How are you? Tell me what's up, and I'll see you next week. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com. They've been here since day one in 2015, and please do check out the Ukrainian Institute. Support their brave creative community during this time of war. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful week. Love you all for listening. Take care.